welcome to the channel. If you haven't been here before, my name's Carl. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you haven't subscribed, I'd really appreciate it if you consider subscribing so we can help the channel grow. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to do something different. It's my sort of sixth build, but it's my first armour build, and we're going to have a pop at the Tamiya Panzer 2 in 1/35 scale. You should have seen by now the inbox review of it, so what we do now is we'll just jump in and we'll crack on with the construction. Right, what we're going to begin with is the towing hooks on the front of the lower hull. These are fitted really well, but one thing I've noticed so far straight away is there is a lot of seam lines on this kit, so be prepared to do a lot of cleanup as you're working your way through it. They're pretty easy to get rid of, just use a craft knife and just scrape it away. Also on these towing hooks there is quite a prominent ejector pin mark on the actual hook itself, so I mean you just got to spend a little bit of time and just clean away until you get the these little towing hooks into sort of a cleaned up state. Right, I just test fitted this hook here and it seems to be alright. I went on and actually just drilled out a hole in the end of the exhaust, and I did it, you just make a little indentation with the craft knife, then you just drill it out with one of these little drills. Then what you do is you just run around the edge of it with a bit of Tamiya extra thin, just to get rid of any sort of like dust and edges, smooths it out just nicely. And then what I did was I sort of dry fitted the rear bulkhead onto the lower hull. It can be a bit difficult because there's no exact place for it to fit, so you just got to jiggle it about. Now what I did was I started putting the hooks on the front just so that I could start getting some assembly done. These again, they're fitting there all right, but you have got to be careful to get them straight and flush up against the bulkhead. So it's, although it's great, it's not the Tamiya engineering that we sort of know today. Now I just wanted to test that the upper part of the hull fitted on there, so there is some jiggling about to be done. Right, now what I did was stick the sort of like axles for the drive wheels onto the front. Again, you got to just muck about to make sure you got them in the right position. They're quite it's quite flexible in there where they fit, so you've got to get it in the right position before you start adding glue. So dry fit everything first. There's a couple of little sort of gaps here that I had to close up as well, so all you do here is just get a bit of Tamiya extra thin in there and then just push them together with you to get them nice and tight. Now I'm gluing in that rear bulkhead. That was a bit of a problem. I had a quick look on some reference and I found that the top half needs to be flush rather than the bottom, so that's the way I did it. Once that was on, there's like a rod that fits on the bottom. I don't know if it's strengthening or I'm not sure exactly what its function is, but again there's a couple of little like notches in there that you pop it in, and then you've got to fiddle about with it. All I'm doing now is open up these little eyelets that go onto the back, the towing hooks that go onto the rear. Again, they're fitting there great, but there is a little bit of jiggle room, so you have to make sure that you get them sort of like horizontal and 90 degrees vertical as well. So with this kit I found out the engineering isn't as precise as I'm used to with Tamiya, so I mean it is a 1980s tooling, so you've got to be, you've got to accept this and just take a little bit more time. Again, I'm opening up the other eye on this towing ring just to make it a bit thinner. Still goes together nice, just takes a little bit of patience. Drop a Tamiya extra thin, then make sure it's seated in there correctly. Now I'm just getting together and putting the wheels in. You've got these poly caps that go in there, so you drop the poly cap into the drive wheel and then you stick a bit of Tamiya extra thin onto the hub. And it's as simple as that. still not 100% sure what the smaller wheels are called. Some people say they're idlers, and some people just say give them other names. So I'm still not 100% sure whether the wheel at the back is the idler or not. But anyway, there's two polycaps here that go into what I was told were the idlers, and they fit inside a little ring, and then you drop them into the rear wheel. Goes together quite easily. A little bit of clean up to be done, just to get rid of any of the sprue gates and stuff. Just make sure you don't put flat spots on them, so you've got to follow the curvature. Drop the polycap in, add a little bit of Tamiya extra thin, and there you're done. It's done. Right, so we've got full road wheels, and you have to do the same thing again. You've got like the polycaps go into a little insert which drops into the rear of the road wheels. So it's like a conveyor belt at this time. Go together really easily. Really enjoying this kit at the moment. Yeah. As long as you realise it is a 1980s tooling, and realise you will have to do a little bit of work to get it sort of see everything fitting just right. So just a bit of Tamiya extra thin, make sure it's seated square. Right, now we move on to the upper hill. What I'm going to do now is I'm just getting all the pieces together from the sprue that are required to be glued onto the upper hill. There's one piece that I'm not going to install just yet because I've got to paint it first, and that's I think it's a shovel that goes on the port side near the front. You've just seen it actually land on there, but I'm going to put that on later because it covers up the axe, and I'd rather sort of paint it separately before I put it on. Right, now I'm just cleaning up the parts that need to go on there. There's a few stowage pieces. There's a front bulkhead that goes on. That just slots in easily. From now on, everything just seems to pop in there quite nice and simple. I try not to use too much extra thin. I really don't want it seeping out. I want to try and keep this build cleaner than I have done so far with the aircraft. I just hold it in place till I know it's there secure. Again, it's sort of like not 100% perfect fit, or there's no really sturdy locating points. Now we've got a little stowage box that goes in there, but they've got two little notches you just drop in, add a bit of Tamiya extra thin on the bottom, and then just a couple of drops around the edges. Here we've got another stowage box that fits on. Again, it's sort of vague locations points. You really got to look to make sure you've got it in spot on the right place. This took a little bit of cleaning up, just using the craft knife and a sanding stick. It does go on quite nicely once you get it in just the right place, but you really got to look to make sure you're putting it in the right place first. You know, it's like I said, it's sort of like vague locating spots for it. Right, there goes the sledgehammer. That fit in quite nice. Just a little bit of Tamiya extra thin, a couple of dots there. A couple of dots on the rear little holes where it locates. Went in just nice. Next thing, the jack goes on. Again, locates in two little lugs there, perfect. Two drops of Tamiya extra thin, and it's beginning to look quite nice. You know, I'm really enjoying this build. Let's give it a little press down with a pair of tweezers to make sure it's firmly seated. Now we've got the antenna. This is in the stowed position. Again, it's sort of got like a locating lug at the front, and it rests on two sort of like bases, maybe amidships on the port side of the hull. So just make sure that you got it all sort of lined up before you sort of commit to glue. So one of the key things about this model is dry fit, dry fit, dry fit all the time, just to make sure you know exactly where the piece goes before you actually add glue. Now this is the shovel I was on about. As you can see there, it covers up the axe. So I really didn't want to glue that in just yet. I'm going to save that till later. So what I did was I put the aerial in, glued that on because that's not actually gonna impinge my painting. And once you've got it located, got little presses of the tweezers just to bed it in, and it's fine. Now you've got a little sort of like a vision port that you need to add onto the side. Make sure you get it in the right direction though. Now you want to be looking sort of down, not up. Again, sort of it fits sort of vaguely. You can see the slot it goes into, but you've really got to jiggle about with it to make sure it's exactly where it should be. And there's one on the other side as well. Yeah, again, press it in to make sure it's bedded in there properly. It goes together, you know, fairly easy. You just got to be a little bit conscientious about when you apply the glue. And that's the last one that goes onto the rear. Now we've got the two little headlights that go on there. Again, you can see exactly where they go. I mean, there's locating points for them. But you've got to make sure that they're actually sitting correctly before you sort of commit to glue. Then a little bit of clean up. Again, make sure that you don't flatten them out. I've got these little Tamiya files which are great for this sort of thing, you know, just to get the meat of the sprue gate off, and then use like the knife and the sanding sticks just to make sure it's smoothed off. But again, you just got to make sure these are sitting facing fore and aft and they're sitting vertical. Now I'm not sure what this is. This looks, I don't know whether this is a horn or it's a vent. I'm gonna have to look that up. And it also looks like it's got a lot of flash around the outside, but I actually do think that that's the shape of the piece, so I didn't take it off. Now we've got to move on to the guns. This is another thing that I was like pretty worried about. I didn't want to flatten them off because there's some pretty dramatic seam lines on this, so you need to make sure you remove them. And you start off with a craft knife and just scrape up and down the barrel, then use a bit of sanding stick just to make sure you get them nice and smooth. But while you're doing this, you've got to make sure that you're rotating the barrel so that you don't end up with a flat spot on the barrel. Right, as soon as I was happy with how smooth it was, I used a craft knife to make a little indentation in the front of the barrel, and then I just like sort of drilled it out. I think I went to sort of, I think it was 0.8 mil, maybe a mil at the most, but just to drill out the hole on there. It just adds that little bit to it if you drill out the end of the barrel. Once you've drilled it out and you're quite happy with it, add a little bit of Tamiya extra thin around there just to smooth it off and get rid of any rough spots. And I did exactly the same thing with the actual the machine gun, which is a lot smaller, so just take your time and don't press too hard. Let the drill do the work once you've got it in there. Just scrape off the end and just add that little indentation with the craft knife. Don't press too hard, otherwise you'll slice yourself open. I'm not pressing too hard at all, I'm letting the knife do the work here. And again, use a small little drill bit and just gently create a hole. You don't have to go like too deep, just enough to create the impression that the barrel's open at the end. Right, now we move on to the turret itself, and the fit isn't what you call brilliant. It does fit in there, but as soon as you move your thumb, it scoots off. So basically what you've got to do is get into the position that you want it, add a bit of Tamiya extra thin, and then just squeeze it together until it bites. It takes a little bit of time. This is where quick set would be okay. I did try putting clamps on there and they just kept shooting off, so in the end it became very frustrating, and so I had to basically do it manually. It did get together, and you just got to do it bit by bit, a little bit of patience, add a bit of Tamiya extra thin, squeeze it till it bites, then you do the same all the way around basically. as you can see, the clamps are there and they just get flopping off. There you go. A bit of patience and it goes together. Now just put the barrels in there, and then these fit absolutely brilliant. You just pop them in and they were straight away at the right angle, and there was no need to adjust them. I just let the Tamiya things set and they were movable. Next thing here is the bottom half of the cupola. You've got to get it in the right spot before you put it in. Get it seated correctly. I was just checking there about the hatch, but add a bit of Tamiya thin, hold it in place. Once it's there, just need to go around the edge and just add a couple of drops just to make sure it's properly secure. I'm not leaving the hatch on at the moment because I'm going to be putting the figure in, maybe. I haven't decided yet. So what I'll do is I'll paint the hatch off the model, because I'm undecided about the Tank Commander figure. And there's a locating spot there, it fits great. There's a gap which makes me think that I want to add the Tank Commander, because the fit isn't brilliant. There's a lot of Tank Commander, and there's all the bits and pieces. And now I'm adding the parts to the turret, like the vision ports and everything. As you can see at the back, I actually added the stowage bin, because I'm thinking of doing the G, although I've heard that this isn't actually a, Tamiya said it's an FG, F or G, and it's not actually a G, but I'll go with what Tamiya say at the moment because I'm a noob. And the tank bin makes it a, or the stowage bin makes it a G. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the colour scheme for the G, which is basically sand colour and with some green camouflage on it. So I'm going to, because I just wanted a stowage bin on the back. Anyway, so what we're doing is putting these plates on there. Again, the fit leaves a little bit to desire. There's, you know, you just got to make sure you got it in the right place before you commit, and then make sure you got the vision port the right way so you're not looking upwards. There's supposed to be a vision port at the back, but obviously the stowage bin covers that. And there's just them 3 little slots, and that's basically the turret pretty much complete. And there's the other bits. Mark the spare wheel, just trim that up. I'm going to paint that first before I put it on. Makes it easier to paint the actual sort of like rubber part of it. Just making sure it fit correctly, because there is a way of getting it on there which is correct and a way that's not. But these are all the bits and pieces together now. You can see the tracks at the top. There's all the little wheels that go into the top. Still not sure what they're called. And I'm just checking there to make sure it sort of fits together. All the wheels are on. They've got the polycaps to make sure they're removable. I put the turret on there, and I was really pleased. The construction, this is basically the construction itself complete, you know, because I've got to take the turret off and the upper hull off just so I can paint everything. So the next stage what we're going to do is we're going to go into the painting stage of it, and I'm still thinking I'm going to do a black base for it. But we'll find that out on the next video where I'm going to do the painting. So I hope you liked the build. It did go together really quite nice. If you've got patience and you do a little bit of cleanup, this is great. I love this first go into armour. So if you've got any tips or any advice about like moving on with the paint and the weathering, jot them down in the comments. You know, I really want to hear your advice. Don't forget to like the video as well, because it helps with the algorithm on YouTube. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe so we can help the channel grow. We can get more of these videos out. And I'll see you guys later.